Bonus video! This video is going to be all about Kingsfold Retreat Center, which is basically a little over an hour from Calgary. It's northwest of Cochrane in the foothills, kind of in the middle of nowhere, and they have like 1,000,000 acres or something. And they have a beautiful lodge that's kind of up on the ridge overlooking the river valley, and their property extends forever, and you can walk down to the river, and they also have a number of prayer walks, and they have a little chapel in the woods. They have a labyrinth. They have they have many beautiful places for individuals or groups to go and have a retreat there. I think their maximum number of people is about 25-ish, 25, 30 maybe. So it's always small. It's just the perfect place to go for a retreat and be alone with the Lord. So that's really where most of the worship retreats happened that I organized. And a lot of them were ladies' retreats, but some of them were open to couples or guys as well. And we would just worship for the whole weekend. No speakers, no lectures, no workshops. You didn't do anything. You just worshiped all weekend long. And I had the amazing privilege of knowing so many talented musicians. And so I would get all these people to agree to come. And then we'd have lots of free time, but we'd also have times of corporate worship in the chapel there in the woods, which is one of the most gorgeous buildings I've ever seen. Or we even one year, I don't know if some of you remember this, but Karen Anderson was there, and I don't remember who else was there, but we actually had a worship time down by the river. So we all went down to the river with our instruments and everything, those who had them, and we worshiped down there along the river, which was amazing. I have some beautiful photos from that. Maybe I'll try and add some photos to this album as well. But those were some of the most incredible experiences of my life, some of those worship retreats. They were amazing. And some of you were there and know about it. But I also had some personal wonderful experiences at Kingsfold too, because I would go just on my own personal retreats, not necessarily take a group. And but first I have to remember the retreat that my brother Mario, my adopted brother Mario, was involved in. And he is an incredible musician. He's originally from Zambia. And I collaborated with him on this little, what would you call it? Monologue, play, skit thing, where I would perform, or I would reenact some of the things I'd written, interspersed with worship songs that Mario would sing. And I called the whole performance Love Scenes. I'll never forget that in a million years. It was just so amazing for me to do that. It was like an offering for Jesus. It was like Jesus was sitting in the front row watching, and it was just so meaningful to me. So I'm so grateful, Mario, that you were willing to do that. Mario and his family live in Ontario, so I almost never see them now. But I also went on personal retreats and had some really significant times with the Lord out there. I remember one time I took a weekend and booked a retreat, went out to Kingsfold with all of my journals, intending to have an incredibly intimate, wonderful time with the Lord, and then I ended up sleeping most of the weekend. And I felt so disappointed afterwards, but it was a good lesson, because the Lord spoke to me and said, Cherie, you really needed to rest. And so now when I go on retreat, I try not to have too many expectations of what it should look like, because I don't know. He makes it whatever he wants it to be, whatever it needs to be. I'll never forget the day that I went out to Kingsfold. This was not during a retreat. It was just on my own. And I was there for most of the day. And during the day, the Lord gave me this download. I don't know how else to describe it. It was a poem, but it was like it was coming to me. I was writing it, but the source was the heart of Jesus. And it was a poem to me. And there was all kinds of intertextuality in it, which is a term that means phrases and pictures in this poem that would mean something to him and I because of our backstory. And it was, honestly, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever written. And no one will ever read it. Not till my funeral. It's a poem from him to me. So at my funeral, I give you permission to read that poem. It's called Cougar Berries. And I still recite it to me sometimes. Recite it to myself sometimes because it's amazing. The first two lines. Okay, the first two lines? No, I can't say the first two lines. See, I always want to share everything, but this is not for anyone else's eyes. Okay, that's my first bonus video, and maybe I'll do another one. I have so many videos to do.